So, as Attorney General Jeff Sessions preps for this testimony tomorrow, Special Counsel Robert Mueller is putting together his investigative team for the probe into Russia's 2016 interference, as it has been called, including these two gentlemen, Michael Dreeben and Andrew Weissman, who you see here. Prominent legal voices are blasting these two additions to the Mueller team. Constitutional scholar Jonathan Turley warning that one Mueller lieutenant has pushed before and been struck down for obstruction charges. Newt Gingrich also raising the alarm on this, calling this investigation, in his mind, a big witch hunt and a setup. Watch him.
Comey said, I deliberately leaked through an intermediary to create this counsel, who happens to be one of his closest friends. Then look at who Mueller's starting to hire. I mean, these are people that, frankly, look to me like they're setting up to go after Trump, including people, by the way, who have been reprimanded for hiding from the defense information in two major cases. I think this is going to be a witch hunt.
So joining me now, Republican Congressman Sean Duffy and former chief economist to President Obama, Professor Austan Goolsbee. Good to have both of you with us tonight. You know, Newt Gingrich, prior to this, said some very positive things, actually, about the selection of Robert Mueller. But now he has changed his mind. Why, Sean Duffy?
Well, I think there's reason for concern. Number one, you have a relationship between Mueller and Comey. They're best friends, and Comey might be a star witness, number one. But you're hiring a litigation team, a bunch of prosecutors who have given thousands of dollars to Democrat candidates. If you're going to do an investigation, let's hire investigators to see what impact Russia had on the last election. This seems more like an effort to prosecute Donald Trump than it is to investigate. And my concern, Martha, is what the hell are we investigating? You've had Comey and other Director Clapper, both with knowledge, come out and say there's no evidence of collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians. Why are we going through an investigation? Why are we going through this charade of an investigation when there's no evidence that Donald Trump had anything to do with the Russians? This is the Democrats' effort to undermine the election results of last November 8th and get their net end result, which is Donald Trump out of the White House.
All right. I want to put up a quote from Jonathan Turley's piece and get your thoughts on this, Austin. He's talking about Michael Dreeben. He says he argued in an unsuccessful appeal a sweeping interpretation of obstruction of justice. An interpretation that I criticize, says Turley, as wildly overbroad. The interpretation resulted in a unanimous rejection of the Supreme Court. Dreeben's addition should be a big concern. No, he didn't say big. Should be a concern to the Trump defense team. What do you think, Austin?
Look, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm going to have to take his word for it. I know Mr. Turley was a very outspoken advocate for the impeachment of President Clinton and has been a defender of President Trump. What I don't understand about this, and Martha, you and I talked about this in transition. Donald Trump had won, and the first inklings about the Russia stuff had come up, and the Trump administration's approach was, well, I understand where it came from. It's absolutely a business approach as opposed to a Washington approach, and that was shut it down, deny everything, turn over no documents. And if you remember, I said back then the problem with that is that it runs the risk that the whole story and the whole investigation morphs into, instead of a nothing burger that there wasn't anything to it, it becomes all about, well, why did you cover it up? Why did you not admit this meeting? And that will suck his policy agenda down the toilet. He will not be able to do anything, just as Bill Clinton was not able to do his policy after the Lewinsky
that the judge and I were just talking about. I mean, you have a special prosecutor, a special counsel rather, who's involved in this now. The more sort of fuel, the more you fuel this fire, you know, Jeff Sessions is going to go out there tomorrow. That's going to be a whole other day of Russia, 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 Sean Duffy. So is the White House making a mistake in not sort of saying, look, this is contained. We are not going to discuss this anymore, and trying to sort of move on to get more focused on their agenda, as they say they really want to do?
Listen, I think it's wishful thinking, because the Democrats in the House and the Senate and the left-wing media is going to continue the drumbeat of Russia, Russia, Russia. But to your point, I think the White House would be served well if they focus on the agenda that got them elected. I mean, we have to start talking about the economy and jobs and tax reform and health care and security and the southern border. Those are the issues that my constituents care about. They don't care about Russia. And that's what I think Donald Trump has to do. Put away the Twitter with regard to Russia and focus on the agenda and stay silent.
Yeah.
But I think the appearances matter, though, Martha. You have the appearances of Mueller and this prosecutorial team that don't look good, like they're going to be fair and impartial.